Sweetie, move. I have a kitty trying to help me record. Okay, hi. I'm Riley Liss, and this is gonna be my first first book review that I actually put on YouTube. Yeah, it's my first YouTube book review. See, it's not that complicated. Okay, so I just got done reading wow. Okay, I just got done reading The Secret Holocaust Diaries: The Untold Story of Nona Bannister. And this is by Nona Bannister. The book is about this woman, about when she went through the Holocaust as a child, what she experienced. And the name, The Secret Holocaust Diaries, is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not written in the standard diary format for the most part. There are scatterings of diary entries that she wrote when she was a kid, translated and copied down, but for the most part, it is written after after World War II, after everything that happened, after everything she went through, after she finally made it out and was safe. And she, as an old woman, sat down and wrote everything down. And that included transcribing or translating, I mean, these very few diary pages that she carried with her throughout the entire everything she went through, which read the book. The things she goes through are brutal, and it's insane and amazing that she was able to hold on to these diary pages for so many years through all of that. But it was a really good book. It gave a different perspective of World War II, because we've all read The Diary of Anne Frank. I think it's required in every school in America. And it should be. Something like historic books should absolutely be read always, not just while we're growing up, but always. I am in my 20s and I'm reading this actually for the second time. This is the second time I'm reading this book. First time was so long ago, I honestly remembered almost nothing. But I think this book is extremely underrated, and it should also be required in schools. It should replace The Diary of Anne Frank, because The Diary of Anne Frank paints a really good picture of what she goes through while staying in hiding. But because she was in hiding, it's a fairly limited view. Nona Bannister, when she did not get to hide, she got lucky and got to evade for a while. Well, not lucky, it was a lot of work for her and her family, but in the end, she had to actually go through the Holocaust. And I know Anne did too. She ended up in a concentration camp, but we don't see that. The diary ends when she's captured, and then that's it. What happens to Anne Frank is after that is a mystery. It's not a mystery what happens to Nona Bannister. She tells it all in this book. She tells going through the work labor camps. She tells of the brutality of the soldiers and the kindness of strangers. I'm like honestly getting a little worked up talking about it now, because it is so moving and so brutal and so insightful. And in a way, it's also very touching that this book even exists, because Nona very easily could have just survived all that and then left it behind, left it in the past, and gone on to live her happy, peaceful life until the day she died safely of old age, home with her family. But she didn't. She put it all out of her mind for a while so that she could recover, so that she could get to a place of stability, so that someday she could go back, pull her diary pages back out, dust off her memories, and write it all down. so that someday she could tell not just her family the truth of where she came from, but she could tell the world, and she could make the world see the dangers of what one man's selfishness did. I can't say it any better than how Nona said it herself. So give me a second. I'm going to find it here in this book. I am compelled to put everything into writing for those who do not know or refuse to believe the true story of what happened. There are not many of us left who know of these horrible times, and we must pass the knowledge on to those who should know the true history of all the horrors. It is the only way to keep such a thing from ever being repeated again. If we keep quiet and do not speak now about what happened before, it could surely happen again. It is up to us survivors to be brave and to let the whole world know all about the horrors that took place. We owe this to our children and the good God who mercifully let us live. Nona understood the power of truth. She understood that history is what makes the future. And despite everything she went through, despite what had to some days be an overwhelming desire to forget it all happened, she didn't. In her last few years of life, she pulled out her old diary entries that she smuggled across Europe and then took with her to America. And she translated them into English, and she wrote down everything in between, everything she went through. And she told her husband to tell the world. After she died, her husband did. He had everything she wrote down published into this book so that the world could know the horrors in the hopes that someday we do not repeat it. So, in addition to the Diary of Anne Frank, or maybe even instead of it, I think The Secret Holocaust Diaries is a book that everyone needs to read. Everyone needs to remember. Not just her, not even just the Holocaust victims, but the victims of the brutality of history itself. Everyone needs to remember the brutality so that we do not repeat it in the future. I know there's been a lot of controversy the past few years, people trying to erase the uglier parts of history, not wanting it to acknowledge that it existed because it's ugly, because it's offensive. That's the point. We have to get through the ugly and experience the ugly and be offended for this world to get better.